Hi everyone, this is Mindy Eggen and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I am going to be creating 3 cards using my distress spray stains, and I also have one bonus card that you see featured down there at the bottom. Now, most of these products are part of the summer release from Fawn, starting with one of my all-time favorite dyes out of this release, and this is the Tropical Leaves Backdrop. Even though it is my favorite, I do have some things I want to point out about this dye because it is very intricate and can be difficult to die cut out. So the best way I found to die cut out this piece is I will run it through my die cutting machine in a portrait mode, and then I'll pull it out and run it back through in a landscape mode, and that gets the best cut. A few other things I'll be using today is the Happy Hibiscus dye, Tropical Leaves, and the Tropical Vine border die. Now off screen, I did go ahead and die cut a bunch of the Tropical Leaves backdrops out of 80-pound white cardstock, and I have laid down here some paper towel to catch any excess ink. These are the distress spray stains that I am using today, and these are pretty much just a liquid form of your distress ink, so you're able to spray them. You could certainly ink blend with it. You can do tons of ways to color up your backdrops, but I have spray stains and I really wanted to use them. I love the vibrancy and I love how they kind of just add just a little interest to these leaves. I'm kind of swooshing across my background as I'm spritzing those colors down, and that way I'm getting a variety of color. I don't have just one color in one place. Now I noticed on my first spray that I had this really cool kind of outline underneath, so I laid a piece of cardstock underneath, placed my border on top, and then did my spritzing. So I'm almost creating 2 backgrounds or 2 pieces here at once. I don't use that underpiece in this video, but I'm definitely saving it for later on for another project. The spray stains that I'm using today are Twisted Citron, Lucky Clover, and Rustic Wilderness, and I may have also used Cracked Pistachio. Now I'm going to repeat that same process for the Tropical Leaves. This is just a really quick and easy way to apply color, and even though you're seeing quite a bit of ink on that paper towel, I'm not really wasting a lot. I'm not using a lot of my bottle. So I'm just once again spritzing over my leaves. I love adding the 3 different colors just to give it kind of some more interest. And then I'm bringing out some shimmer spray, and it's hard to see on camera, but this stuff is really shimmery, and I'm going to add it to everything. Now these are the Happy Hibiscus flowers. So I die cut all of these out of 80-pound white cardstock. I spritzed them first with Kitsch Flamingo, and then I'm coming in with Picked Raspberry. And I'm also making sure to clean off my nozzles once I'm done spraying. So now I'm bringing back in those backdrops, and I'm adding that shimmer spray to all of my backdrops. So like I said, I know it's really hard to see on camera, but in person, these are so pretty and shimmery. Now I'm going to move on to creating my first card, and this is one that I created during Lawn Fawn Inspiration Week, and this is similar. I did change it up just a little bit. I'm starting with ink blending on some Twisted Citron, and I'm just using the 80-pound white cardstock again. I use it for pretty much everything. So starting with Twisted Citron, then I'm going to bring in Salvaged Patina. I'll also come in with Salty Ocean and then top it off with Chipped Sapphire, and I'm just going to keep blending between the colors until I have a seamless blend. Now you may notice I have my ink up there in the corner in an ink stand. That is from the Inkstand store. There's a website now that you can get this. It just holds my ink pad in place while I'm blending, and it's not sliding all over my glass surface. So I will have all of the supplies, including the inkstand, down in my video description. So after I am satisfied with my blend on my cardstock, I'm going to add just a little bit more interest to this by adding some kind of speckles of water. So I'm going to take a water bottle, spritz down some water, and I'm going to pick that up with a paintbrush and just flick this all over the background. You could also use any type of shimmer spray, or white paint would work too, kind of give the illusion of stars in the background. Now what I'm going to do is turn this into a shaker card. So like I said, this is very similar to a card I had shared earlier in the week on my blog, but I thought it would look amazing as a shaker. So I have my sprayed backdrop there. I also die cut that backdrop from Rainforest cardstock, and I have a piece of acetate cut to the same size as this backdrop, which is about, I think, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I can't remember the exact measurement of it, but I cut it to the same size. And if it overhangs, the acetate overhangs a little, I'm just going to trim that off. So I added liquid glue to the back of that rainforest cardstock and added that on top of my acetate. And then I'm adding the liquid glue to the back of my blended backdrop. Now I turned this so that my leaves aren't in the same direction. And I think this just gives a really cool look into the background, kind of like they're farther away. They're kind of a shadow of a leaf in the background. And all of my elements are going to go on top of this acetate. So I forgot to add my vine in. I had also die cut out one of these tropical vines from rainforest cardstock. And thankfully I didn't put glue everywhere on the back of those leaves. So I'm able to take that vine and just kind of tuck it underneath. And I'm trimming off any of that excess. And then I can just add little dabs of liquid glue. I don't want to add too much because I don't want it seeping out and smearing on the acetate. And I also like to take my finger and just kind of dab excess away. I don't want a lot of that glue on there. And then I can take the ends and just tuck them right under the leaves. So this is swooping down across my backdrop. Next, I need to create a well for the shaker area. So I have these sticky strips. These are foam strips that were the perfect size to go around my card, the back of my card here. So this, I flipped over. This is the back of my rainforest cardstock. And I'm adding these foam sticky strips all the way around that edge. You want to make sure that they are butted up right next to each other so that none of your sequins or embellishments escape from your little well. Now you could leave it with one layer, but I'm deciding to go 2 layers. So I'm removing the backing of the first layer and adding another one on top. This is going to give me a lot of room for my shaker bits to move around. Then I kind of went through my stash just to see what I have that's really sparkly, shiny, and would be really fun to have in a shaker. I have some tiny iridescent bubbles, some round iridescent gems, and majestic confetti. If you haven't checked out the embellishment section at Lawn Fawn, definitely head over there and take a look. They have some beautiful embellishments that would be great for shakers. Once I have all my embellishments in there, you want to make sure that they're spread out and not piled up like a sandcastle in the middle of your acetate. Otherwise, your back panel isn't going to fit very well. So I'm just taking all of these backings of the foam tape. Some of them I'm just going to bring down halfway and leave a little bit of that backing hanging out. I just think that helps me a little bit. So if I'm a little crooked, I don't have to rip my whole thing apart. I just need to adjust it a little. Then once I have that ready, I can take my blended panel and add it right over all of those exposed foam strips. Once I'm happy with that placement, I can pull the rest of the backing and secure that down. So I want to make sure I'm giving really good pressure here, that it's secured down and none of my shaker elements are going to escape. Then I can flip this over, give that a shake, and I think this looks so pretty and it's so fun. Now there is a little bit of excess of that cardstock hanging off on the edge, so I'm going to take my scissor and just trim all of that off. So that way if I add it to a card base, you're not going to see any of that extra blended panel hanging off. Now I can work on finishing the assembly of my shaker card. Now off screen, before I had done the video, I had gone ahead and die cut and colored a bunch of the images from the Toucan Do It stamp set because I love these toucans and these jaguars are so cute. So I have a sentiment here that says "You're the best," and that is from the Wavy Sayings stamp set. And I used one of the wavy banners for that, just done on white cardstock, stamped in jet black ink. And then I added my 3 little critters there. And I also die cut out some of these little flowers. And I did that just in a dark pink and a light pink, adding them with a liquid glue just all the way around my card. I think it just really kind of helps give that tropical vibe. So that will finish off my first card, the shaker card. I love how this came out. I hope you did too. And if you haven't tried a shaker card, I hope this helps because they're really fun to play with and to create. So in my next cards, I'm going to give kind of just a brief look at how I am putting the card together, but I'm not going to go through every single step. This is the first one. This is with the Happy Hibiscus that I had spritzed with the Kitsch Flamingo and picked raspberry spray stains. And I decided to keep this fairly simple. I just have a white panel here that's 4¼ by 5½. I'm laying out the idea of what I want to do. And I thought just that one branch with the toucan sitting on it would be really cute. I just need to add a sentiment. So what I did is I'm going to take all of this and move it to my Mindy stamping tool, line up my sentiment, and then I'm going to remove all of these pieces and stamp my sentiment down. So the sentiment that I chose to use is Sending Smiles, and it is off of the Long Distance Hugs stamp set. And then I just went back in and added all of my images with liquid glue or foam squares. So my next card is also fairly simple. I have a panel of white cardstock here that I ink blended with twisted citron. It's darker on one end and kind of gets lighter as it gets towards the top, but it doesn't convey that very well in the video or my pictures. But it is twisted citron distress oxide ink. And then I'm just adding on that tropical leaves backdrop. And I also have the happy birthday, or the giant happy birthday, die cut from white cardstock that I'm adding to the center of it. It fit perfectly in there. And then I can come in and just add all of my critters. And I'm using foam squares to do all of this, adding the toucan at the top, the jaguar down at the bottom, and then the flying toucan off on the side. So I have some cute images and yet still able to read my message. Now my last card that I have to share with you is actually using the tropical leaves background stencil. I didn't create this on video for you. I apologize for that, but it was something I had played around with. I really wanted to use it, so I'm kind of throwing this in here. I had ink blended, I believe, twisted citron and maybe lucky clover with that tropical leaves background stencil, and I trimmed just like maybe a 2 or 2½ inch strip. And I laid that on top of white cardstock to get an idea of where this sentiment would go. The sentiment is off of the Toucan Do It stamp set. I first stamped it in, I think it was like a jalapeno or freshly cut grass ink, but I really didn't like it, so I just stamped back over it with a jet black ink. Now that the sentiment is on, I can go ahead and add that stenciled strip back on there with a tape runner, and then bringing in another tree branch and then a couple toucans and the jaguar again. So a very clean and simple card, not a lot to it, but I wanted to include it because I just was really happy with how it turned out. And you know I'm a huge fan of stencils. So there we have it, 4 tropical card ideas for you, 3 of which are using spray stains if you happen to have those on hand. I will have all of my supplies listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well. I want to thank you so much for stopping by today, and I'll see you again real soon.